Hello there, friends. Welcome. It is the third Friday of the month, and today we're working on pattern 11. So you can see they've got 2 photos here, and I have 6. So it's going to be very different, although similar in many ways. So it'll be fun to see how I incorporate the extra photos onto this layout design. My crafty friends and I are working our entire way through this sketchbook, and even though the sketchbook is no longer available, you can still use the ideas for what you have on hand because I'll share with you the dimensions. So for those of you that do have this book, it's a close to my heart, Make It From Your Heart Volume 6 sketchbook, and again it's pattern 11. So these are 5x7 photos. Mine are smaller, they're 4x5.5 and 3x4s. So let's go ahead and get started selecting our papers. I'm working with the Lake Life collection. This is a currently available paper collection from Stampin' Up, but it is a close to my heart design. So you can see when I showed you my photos, we are paddleboarding. This is my husband and I, and it was Memorial Day weekend. We were up at a little lake we call Pinecrest. It's a high mountain lake, and it was cold. It was so cold. There's a funny story behind this photo, which I'll tell you here in just a moment. So let's go ahead and bring in our Versamats, and we'll get started on this design. I do plan on following along with the measurements fairly closely, and then we'll go rogue with the photo design. Let's go ahead and start this on White Daisy. We're going to bring in several layers of pattern paper, so this will just give us a little white space around the edge. And I'm going to pop this out. Now, I do get quite a few questions. This book was on clearance, and a lot of you grabbed it at the last minute, and you're asking how to store it. So this is a 6x8 photo album from Close to My Heart. So it fits 2 volumes. I've got volume 5 and volume 6 in here. Fit very nicely. There are binders like you can get on Amazon, but they don't quite fit. And let me show you what to watch out for. So this is a 6x8 office style Avery binder that I got on Amazon, and it works as far as the hole placement. They fit perfectly, but when you close it, they stick out the edge slightly. So you can see that's not going to protect the edge of your book. Yeah, I'm sliding this because it has a little play in it, but the back, you can see that doesn't work. Plus, these are not very well made. They are not holding up to, light, what I would consider light use. But anyway, I wanted to show you that that does stick out the edge of this Avery office binder that is, 6x8. So you're probably going to have to look for a specific 6x8 photo album and, hopefully find one where the holes line up. So I just wanted to share that because I do get asked quite a few questions on how I store them. You could just use jump rings too, or book rings, I guess they're called, where they open and close, and put them bind them together. It wouldn't protect them, but it would at least keep them together for you. So you can see we've got the same pattern paper strip on the top and bottom. And then they've got a cardstock sheet and then a center strip with 2 5x7 photos. This is a great design when you have a big story to say or to tell. I don't, but I do have more photos. So that's going to come in handy for photo space there. I chose this pattern paper for my top and bottom pieces, and these are 9 inches long by 1 1/4 inch wide, or actually 9 inches wide by 1 1/4 inch deep there. And if you are following along, if you have the sketch, they give you the measurement for this entire piece, so it'd be 9 by 12, but you can see all of that's covered. So if you're following this sketch, I recommend just, kind of piecing it out to save all that paper. For my strip across the center, I'm using this wood grain. Now this is from the current Mix-in collection. The Mix-ins go along with the current paper packs. So they cut theirs at 5.5 and mine is only 5 inches because I had already used this piece for something else and I had exactly 10 inches. So I decided to divide that in half and we'll just fudge it a little, but it's going to be okay because My photos are smaller anyway. They had those big 5x7 photos. So I think, you know, everything's going to be just slightly off. So we have that. Now we need the paper to go, you know, around the top and bottom. So looking at my photos, there's a lot of blues and browns, and we have the kind of glacier color and then some orange because of my shirt and the paddle there. So I am thinking I want to use the water paper. There's the water kind of, you can see all the waves and everything. I love all of that, just detail. And then the opposite side is paddles. So I really could go either way. I think that is going to look nice, but I think I want to go with the glacier colored water. And then to make my photos pop a little bit more, I'm going to mat those on pine to bring this pine color down to the center of the layout. So let me go ahead and cut this one down. So these are 10 inches by about 2.5. And again, I'm just piecemealing this together. So my layers are overlapping just a bit, but I just wanted to make sure I have enough. There's nothing worse than cutting it and it being too short. Then you got to get creative and figure out how to camouflage that. So we're basically going to have something like this. And then I did cut a photo mat here. And actually I want these two over here. I'm going to put this one on the far edge because I'm kind of angling in. And then my husband and little Murphy are paddleboarding that way. So I thought that this one would look nice over here. So you can see we're already switching up the layout design with the photos by adding 2 photos. So I've got a second photo in the title spot, so we'll have to figure out where else to put the title. So this is good for a really large title, and like I said, if you have a whole big story to tell, it's a great layout and you want to feature a big 5x7 photo. But maybe we'll put our title underneath. I do want to use this sticker here from the coordinating sticker sheet. The best days are spent at the lake. I thought that would be really good. And you can see that fits really nicely right in the corner of this photo. It's kind of perfect how it is cut. I did remove the adhesive off the back of that, so I can just lightly set that down and move it if I want to. Inspired by the sketch, I'm going to use this pine tree branding strip off the pattern paper for this little strip across the, you can see they kind of overlap it, but again, my sizes are different. So I'm going to use this along the bottom, and it's perfect because this is, like I said, a high mountain lake and we're surrounded by pine trees. So I really like that, but I don't want to cover too much of the pine trees. So I think I'm going to bump these photos up just a bit, and then we'll bring our tag back in. I went ahead and added the layers for the opposite side, so as of now they are symmetrical. For the photos, now I've got 2 of them portrait style that are 4 by 5.5. So there's lots of different things we could do. So if you're looking at the sketch here, you can see they have, that's actually a 4x6 photo on this side. So what we could do is we could orient our photos like this in a column. Actually, we're going to have to bump that up. So that does cover quite a bit of our paper, but we still have some peeking out the side here. And then we could do something like this with our smaller 3x4s, and that would look very nice. So that is a layout I do frequently. Like I would have maybe another 4x6 over here and then create a column of photos like this, or if you have a bunch of 3x4s, you can create a column. So we could do that, or we could, if we don't want this so tall, we could switch these to where they're making a little bit more of a grid, and it gives you more color around the outside. So something like this, we could add our photos like this in a grid. Now this doesn't leave me a whole lot of room for journaling. I don't have a huge story to tell, but I do have journaling I want to include. So we could add a 3x4 flip flap and include the journaling in there. So lots of ideas. Let me possibly go, another thing we could do is put these in a row along with these photos, and then kind of have these maybe just down here a little bit. I don't know. I don't like that. But you can see there's so many different ways we could include these. I think I am going to probably go with this orientation here. And then instead of having these like this, we could bump these, and then that gives me probably just enough room for my story right there. Alternatively, we could take one of these 3x4s and bump it to this area here, and then let's bring these two so that it kind of matches. I'm going to get these matted on pine, but now that kind of has the same footprint. So if we do this, it's almost like we've just flip-flopped it, which looks very nice. I do like the balance of that. Yeah, so many different things. So now we could bump this down and have more room for a story and embellishments. Now I don't know what to do. There's too many ideas. I'm going to go ahead and ink up the edges while I think about this. I'm going to use mocha ink to go around the edge of my pattern papers. Now, I mentioned there was a funny story. So my husband and I get up to Pinecrest in the morning and it's cold. There's a bite in the air. It's a little breezy. It's still early in the season. And, you know, we were kind of thinking, I'm not too sure about this, but decided that as long as we stayed out of the water, we'd probably be fine. We had a really good time. It was a beautiful day, but when we decided to paddle back, the wind picked up and was really working against us. Well, if you go over closer to the shoreline, it's a bit more protected and you can more easily paddle back. When we got close enough to the shore, our dog Murphy decided to leap towards it, and instead of propelling his body forward, he actually kicked the paddleboard out from underneath him, so he pretty much just falls straight down into the water. And when he shoved the paddleboard, my husband lost his balance and fell into the water also. And I was dying laughing, trying to get my camera, and he's just gasping, trying to get out of the water onto his board, and that was the best shot I could get. Murphy's climbing up onto the boulder and Mike's clutched to the side of his paddleboard, just trying to catch his breath because it pretty much knocked the wind out of him. He laughed about it after the fact, but definitely a cold plunge he wasn't prepared for. For now, I think I will have my photos in this orientation, and then we're going to start embellishing, and that may change things depending on where my embellishments fall. So I did pull some things to possibly incorporate from my stash. I have the Let's Kayak stamp set, and I know we're not kayaking, but I think these things still work really well with paddleboarding also. There's the Lake Life Scrapbooking, and you know, I don't know, I might use like the sign and a little slice of heaven, or welcome to the lake on the sign. I think that's super cute. And then I have the Forever Forest stamp from Stampin' Up, and I thought it might be nice to add in some pine trees to really capture that mountain feel. So those are my stamp sets I have, and then I also have, it's always good to kind of take inventory and see what you have to work with ahead of time. So these are unfortunately no longer available, but I do have these paperboard shapes that went along with this collection, and you can see I have scraps in here. I've made a couple layouts already, so I have little bits and pieces just tucked into this bag, which is where this lives. And then I've got the sticker sheet and some die cuts. These came from the workshop. So the workshop's no longer available, but the paper pack and sticker sheet is. But these are very basic shapes, so you could definitely recreate these with, you know, scraps of paper you have. So I've got a couple circles. There's the journaling spot, and then we have this little kind of pre-cut pennant banner, and then these little triangle shapes here. Sometimes I like to look at the inspiration layouts just to see how they use the bits and pieces, and I like how they've incorporated these hexagons here in their clusters. And then there's just lots of good little details that you can kind of take in and maybe just take a little bit from each design. I do like how they have used these triangles under here in a cluster, so that kind of inspires me to maybe try that here in this corner, and then maybe have some triangles over there. So yeah, let's see how that goes. And it's just a matter of, you know, dry fitting things and trying it out. I do want these at different heights, so let's see if we can, I can chop it, but might as well just tuck it under here and see how that looks. And then we have this one here in the blue. So I think, you know, like I said, I might put my journaling up here so we have room to create this embellishment cluster here. So I do like that. They have kind of the three of them here, so maybe we'll just let that live there for now and see. I'm going to go ahead and stamp some trees. So I would want, we have this in the same pattern paper, so we could bring this over to this side. You can always put little banner tails upside down too. They don't always have to be hanging down, although that's kind of how I prefer mine. So we could do something like that, or out the bottom, just kind of how, so we have something hanging on both sides. Let's go ahead and create some stamped embellishments. If you want to use your stamp positioner with your cling stamps, you can, and it's very easy to do. I'm so bad. I haven't put all my stickers on. I have to admit, that's not my favorite thing to do. It's not hard. I did share a tip on how I line up the stickers, and it's simple to do, but I don't want to take the time to do it. So this will mount to the door of your stamp positioner just like a regular stamp, but because it has a foam pad built in, you can see on these cling stamps, you can see that pad there. It's got a built-in cushion, which is nice, but that means we don't need this, and it will be helpful to just kind of eliminate that. Put your paper directly on the bottom of the mat there, and then you can just use that how you would normally stamp with your stamp positioner. I'm going to use pine ink to ink up my trees and stamp this onto white daisy cardstock. Now the beauty of a stamp positioner is if it doesn't stamp perfectly the first time, you can ink it up and stamp it again. These do stamp beautifully. I just want mine really extra dark. I will go ahead and stamp the smaller size also, and then get all of these die cut out. So these do have the outline dies for the stamps, and then you have these where you can just die cut a tree without the stamped image and just have the die cuts. So it's a nice variety to mix and match. So I'll go ahead and finish a bunch of those and be right back. It's always nice having a variety of sizes, so we can just experiment by placing these around the layout. I also have these circles, and then of course I brought in some orange stickers because I do want to accent this color on the layout as well. I do have this little journaling block, but I'm not sure if that's going to be enough space to document my story. So I am literally just kind of playing around and trying things out. At this point, I don't have a game plan. Let's try some of these trees. We could always add them to this space up here. That does look pretty cute. Let's try to tuck these under. I did adhere those down, so I'm just going to use my spatula to kind of break the adhesive. Now I'll probably end up cutting those flush so they sit right on that zip strip there. I'm not sure I want all of these. Let's move those aside for now and just kind of play with some of the orange stickers to see what those might look like. Now I have these other hexagons, and I did like the embellishment cluster on the example layout with the hexagons, so I'm kind of mimicking that idea here. This sticker says splash, which is just too perfect, and I have to incorporate that on this photo of my husband and Murphy soaking wet. We have this little hexagon, maybe up here. We do need to add some orange, so what if we put the heart here? I actually don't want the heart next to me. I was thinking I would put the heart next to this photo of my husband and I, so let's move that over there. My goal is to add these trees in at least 3 places. Now, I could cut them up. You could take these trio of trees and turn it into 1 or 2. As you can see here, only 2 are actually visible when you tuck it under. Let's try these up top here. I know they're kind of big, but if we tuck them under the photo enough, I kind of like the bigger ones up top. Usually I'll put my bigger embellishments towards the bottom where they have more weight, but I kind of like them up there. I think we're going to go for that. So let me just cut these up. As I mentioned, there's enough space in between those. You can very easily fussy cut those, and I'm just kind of very loosely following the branches. You don't have to be perfect. Very easy to trim those down. Let's bump those over just a bit towards the center of the layout. And then I have this little trio of trees that we could add maybe up here or possibly here. And again, I feel like it needs more substantial trees. So I stamped some more, cut it in half because again, only 2 are showing. I'm going to go ahead, sorry, I'm off frame there. I'm chopping off the bottom. I want them to sit flat on that little branding strip. And then we'll place our hexagons over the top. I have my sticker sheet off to the side and I spot one more orange sticker that we could use. I want to bring orange up to the upper left-hand corner. So this little sticker says breathe, and then we have these orange and white arrows. So I'm just framing in the corner just to, again, bring that color up. And then as I add just a few more things to this layout, I just want to challenge you to look at sketch designs or other layouts and try to look beyond the photos. So here I have taken the exact same design as far as papers go, but my photos went in a completely different direction. So, you know, it's amazing how flexible layout sketches can be. Now, this little sticker here is super cute, and I thought about tucking this in, but I think we have maybe too much. I'm going to take that out, save it for another project. And, you know, just because things work doesn't mean we need to add them, right? At any point, you can always stop if you like your embellishment clusters a little bit lighter. Now, I've got this word relax, and I thought it would fit perfectly, and it fits the theme, fits the space, and I like it. So we're going to go for it. I'm trying something different, and I adhered my flip-flap directly to my layout. I was able to add the story and another photo. This one has the Pinecrest Lake Resort on the sign there, so I thought that was fun to add. Now, normally I adhere my flip-flaps to the top, but I thought I'd give this a go and cut the page protector when I'm ready and feed it through and see how I like it. So I'll bring the original sketch design back in, and we could just take a look at the difference. And again, I can't stress enough, I use the exact same paper dimensions, just went completely different from the photo, and I love the way it turned out. Now be sure to check out what my crafty friends have done with this sketch for even more inspiration. You can click on the playlist right here on the right. And I thank you so much for watching. Everything I used will be in the description box below, and I'll see you next time.